Hello and welcome to episode 472 of Geektown Radio. I'm your host Dave, and with me this week is Matt. How you doing?
I'm good, David. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you. It's been a few weeks since you've been on. What have you been up to?
Ended up checking out, I guess this is considered a classic film, although mainly just because of popularity.
Notorious, I think, is probably closer to this. Yes.
Yeah. Now, I didn't watch this film on my own. There's a lovely YouTube channel called The Real Reject. They do reaction stuff. They also do have a podcast and their whole network of things and all that kind of stuff. And I got into a habit/routine or whatever of watching certain films with them, some that I had seen before, some that I hadn't, and got into their horror videos and came across the Human Centipede, which I've heard the name of many times before. Glad I watched it with them and not on my own. I probably would have turned the film off if I watched it on my own. It's an interesting one because I think I put this in the top 5 worst films I've seen before.
Yes.
It's a problem of, it's not when, I'll use a more modern example, when people talk about Madam Webb and things like Craven, but the things that those films are pointed out for is just not being like very sloppily made. And
yeah,
it's not necessarily an issue thereof. It is an issue of writing and things like that, but it's more, we've just slapped this film together because we have the license and we're just going to do that. This isn't really a case of that. It's not the case of it's specifically poorly made, but then when you do look at, okay, a film's actual qualities, writing, directing, acting, story, whatever, everything's very basic on the surface. But my main problem with this film is it's so empty. That I watched the film with them and they do like a mini review thing afterwards and they were talking about it. And there was this realization of there's just not a lot actually in this film. And once you get to the end of it, you wonder what the point of it was or why it was even made in the first place. I'm not going to talk about the actual thing itself because it is really horrible.
Yes.
It's essentially, you've got this mad doctor. He kidnaps a bunch of people and puts them into a human centipede. I'm not going to go any further with the description of that. And something I like to do with certain things is, okay, look out for, let's say, themes or human themes and anything on the surface. You can go very deep with those kind of things. And it's just that it's actually quite strange. The more I thought about it, and I've tried not to think about this film actually too much, but
fair enough, yes.
It's okay, you have this scientist, doctor, whatever you want to call him, this raving madman, and you know I don't use words like that very lightly. This essentially mindless raving madman who wants to do this particular thing. It's not entirely actually explained why. It's just he just wants to do this thing. And when you have a basic problem like that of, okay, once that has happened in the film, what does he then do? He doesn't really do much with it other than just torture these people. But it's funny when you have a film literally called Human Centipede and you have the opportunity for some deep storytelling or some kind of like, I say human themes. You've literally got like a human experiment thing here. And it's just a senseless, just nothing of a film. It's not even the problem for me of, okay, how horrible it is and nasty it is, because it is really nasty and it is really horrible. That's not even really the problem with this. As you get older, you can become like desensitized to certain stuff. So it wasn't an issue of, oh, this is specifically disgusting and that makes it worse. And while that is the case, that's not one of the reasons the film's not very good or quite bad, in my opinion as well. But because even though these 3 people don't really get like the opportunity to speak or really develop at a certain point, it's the doctor as well, or so whatever you want to call this guy. It's the problem with him where it's, let's say you took a completely different thing. Let's say you took something like Crash Bandicoot, going in a wildly different direction here, and you look at like Dr. Neocortex or Dr. Engine. Okay, they're cartoony, mad scientists, but you know what they are when you're stepping into that game. But at least when you look at what Dr. Neocortex does to Crash Bandicoot, there's at least a logical reason and a sort of like, he's trying to do something. It fails because he's a slapstick, funny character. But even those two, and even Dr. Engine, who's got even less towards her as a character, even though those two have got more going on than this guy. I know there's actually a second and a third one, and I know nothing about those two, but apparently they're like a lot worse as well. The only way I would consume those two is if this same channel watched those two and they said maybe at the end, because they were pretty put off by itself. What do you think of the Human Centipede?
I have to say, I have never actually watched it because apart from the fact that horror's not massively my bag, I remember this film coming out and just people being appalled by it even by then. I think calling it a classic is a stretch. It is a notorious film, I would say, because of the subject matter and because of what happens. And like you say, it's one thing to do something like that as a hook, which is something awful, there is a purpose to it, or there is something deeper going on with the story. And with this, it doesn't seem like that was ever the case. It was just, this would be funny, what if? And they did it and made a movie, and that was it. And it got notoriety for it, but I have never had any desire to go and see it, and why would I? So yeah, I can't judge to say whether it is a masterpiece or not, but from every single review I've ever seen of it saying it's horrible, and people go and watch it out of morbid curiosity more than anything else. But yeah, I think you were quite right. I think it's one of those things that if there was a deeper story behind it and there was a purpose to the characters in some way, you could get away with it. But there's not even that. It's just a sort of, what if a mad scientist did this thing and that's it? Yeah.
Because it's not a problem with the concept. Okay, you can do, I don't mind that the thing that you're doing in the film is particularly horrible. Obviously, that's a big point of it, but then there's just nothing else there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, with that off the board, I just wanted to give a couple of mentions to a couple of things. I started The Walking Dead, Dead City a little bit ago. I keep meaning to watch episode 2, but just not quite getting around to it. It says obviously the Maggie and Negan spin-off is the second season from that, obviously from the end from the main Walking Dead show. They do a couple of interesting things in this first episode. Of course, you've got things like Herschel's now back with Maggie. Of course, that's her son. He's all aged up and stuff now, so there's an opportunity to do more with him, the character. And there's a couple of interesting little nuggets in there in that first episode, because he was in the... I don't think they did the recasting of him until this show, because I think when they ended the main Walking Dead, they were all a bit younger, weren't they? All the sort of younger characters. So he was still in the first season, but he was not with Maggie as much. Yeah, he comes back and whatnot, and they start talking about more stuff and seeing what's going on with him, and he's doing these like drawings and things. Curious to see where that goes. Of course, Lauren Cohen back as Maggie, Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan. I forgot just how... not just Negan as a character, but specifically Jeffrey as Negan, just how charismatic that character and that performance is. And Negan loves a good speech, doesn't he? There's a couple of speeches he gives in the first episode. There's it's not really a spoiler, but I won't say what he says because it's a nice little like thing. He talks about cockroaches in a certain way, and it made me laugh a little bit. So that was cool as well. So yeah, I think there's 8 episodes. There was only 6 in the first season, which was still enough to tell that story. So curious to see where that goes after the first episode. Have you jumped into this at all?
I haven't started it yet. It is on my Skybox waiting for me to watch the first episode, but I haven't actually got to it yet. I've still not watched the second season of Daryl Dixon either. So I'm way behind on all the Walking Dead stuff. It is one that I will pick up at some point, but I just haven't really felt in the mood for zombie things. And I just haven't got around to watching it yet. I enjoyed the first season, certainly out of those spin-off things. I mean, I struggled with the Daryl Dixon one in season 2. I think I started season 2 and I wasn't that into it. I enjoyed the first season of it, but I just haven't got round to the second season. So yeah, I will do at some point.
But no, interesting kind of the Maggie Negan pairing, because that was one of the things with the spin-offs, right? It was you had Rick and Michonne, obviously great pairing. It was then going to be Daryl and Carol, and that whole thing happened and all that. But no, so looking forward to seeing where this goes after episode 1 of season 2. I just wanted to mention Handmaid's Tale. I've done a spoiler talk podcast on it, but just wanted to give a sort of does it end well kind of conversation here, spoiler free here as well. It does wrap up certain things well enough. You can clearly tell that, okay, because you've got the sequel show, because there's the other book that's there, sequel show coming out, I won't say they leave a couple of things hanging in the way of, okay, they didn't wrap up properly, but it's this almost like a hybrid series finale where you can clearly see and tell where this is going to go next and why certain things are left slightly open, not like in massive cliffhanger sort of ways. It doesn't really have a cliffhanger ending per se. It ends the story of what it's got there relatively well, and then just it has to leave that door open a little bit because there is that sequel series. But final season I thought was great itself, had a lot of very good things in it, and I thought the finale wrapped up well, but as obviously the sequel show as well. If you were just there for June and her friends and everybody else that was there, it wraps up that part of it well enough. I think was relatively satisfied with that. I think you haven't got to the
I haven't got to the end. No, it's on Prime Video for me, and I just keep on forgetting. I know I need to go back and watch the rest of it. It's ended whilst I was away, and it's one of those shows that I always forget about Prime, and like I just needed to go back onto it and like actually finish it. I will do that at some point as well. It's just I need to do these sort of things before lots of things started coming back in September and October, really.
Yeah, fair enough. But it is, again, I know I pointed out the acting last time. Again, just incredible performances from everybody, including Elizabeth Moss. There's one particular line, I don't want to say what it is because it's really nice for the finale. There's one particular line someone says to someone in the finale that like sums up the whole show really well, and it's like one of the best maybe lines in the whole series. I thought that was just really great and really fitting for all of that. Invasion and Foundation, I thought I would struggle with not juggling these shows necessarily. I know they do come out on the same day, but they're both big sci-fi shows and that kind of thing. But I'm actually enjoying the balance between, okay, Invasion's really great at what it does. And I think it's come back really well for season 3 so far. Season 2 was good. It was okay. It was a little bit maybe sophomore slump slightly, but still pretty good. That's the problem sometimes with any show. When you come out with a season 1 that's so good, it's okay, can you carry on this momentum in the second season? And there are a number of shows that's I guess why we have the sophomore slump phrase for that. But yeah, I think it's come back better than season 2 so far, season 3. And I like that so far it's not, I don't think it's trying too hard and it's just getting on with its own thing and it's going a little bit more back to basics, which I think is maybe something it needed to do. I don't think that's a problem at all. If you can just tell me your narrative in a more of a straightforward way without trying to be too complicated, because especially with a sci-fi show and you have there's so much lore and rules and okay, if this happens here, what about this here? And things can get a bit too stuck in the weeds. And I think that was maybe one of season 2's problems a little bit, but it's kept it, at least for now, it's still a bit early in the season. It's kept things a bit more basic, and I've liked that. It's been interesting going from Foundation, which is okay, don't look away from the screen at any moment, catch every single line and pay full attention. But it really rewards you for doing that. And then Invasion is, not that I haven't been paying attention because I have, but it's almost more of a relaxing, casual sci-fi experience. But I'm enjoying them both for what they're both doing. There's been some wild things that have happened on Foundation as well, which has been great. I'm, for some reason, again, one episode behind. I know I was last time when I came on here, but it's been really great. I find it a little bit more like with certain other shows, I'm like, okay, even though I'm not completely in the mindset to watch this, I can still watch it. Whereas I don't want to do that with Foundation. I want to I'm completely in the mood and not distracted for the next hour or something and then go and watch it. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I thought I would struggle a little bit more going between two sci-fi shows at the same time, especially on the same platform. But it's actually worked out quite well. Are you watching both of those? What do you think of them?
I'm way behind on Invasion. I think I'm a little bit into season 2 of that, and it's another one I need to go and catch up on. I am up to date completely on Foundation, though. I've been watching that through weekly, very much enjoying that and what they've been doing that with this season. It has been quite different this season, particularly on the Empire side, where you've got the day, dawn, and dusk are very fractured this time, which is not something we've seen before. They've always been quite united, and you'd seen cracks starting to form in that as we'd gone through the seasons, but they've really broken apart this season. And the other thing is each season has this massive, like hundreds of year time jump. So you've got certain characters which are still around due to sci-fi stuff, but the rest of them aren't. So you introduce a whole new bunch of characters at the start of each season, other than about 5-6 core people. I rather enjoy how they handle that, and it's been so good. They've just done such a wonderful job with the third season of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes and what happens with it. So yeah, Foundation's been great. Invasion, I was a little sort of middling on, and it was fine and it had some interesting stuff, but it was one of those things I needed to be in the mood for and really sit and binge on my way through. So I will go back to watching some more of that at some point as well. But yeah, it's been good.
I'm loving not in a way of liking him, but the meals just really interesting on Foundation.
Yeah, the mule is a really interesting character. He's been played brilliantly this season, and he seems to be ahead at every turn pretty much most of the way. That may change, but yeah, he's a really interesting addition to sort of everything, particularly with battling the Foundation itself and also Empire and how he's handling that. Yeah, he's very good. He's a great new character. And we're obviously building to that confrontation, which they've been teasing since season 1, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. I won't spoil who it is, but when he had that conversation with that other person, I was like, oh, what's going to happen here? You've got two kind of just really fascinating characters talking to each other. So that was brilliant as well.
Yeah. No, it's been great. For me, on very much a different side of things, I watched Mitchell and Webb Are Not Helping, which is the new Mitchell and Webb sketch series, which is a very rare thing on TV these days. Sketch comedy is not something that you've done all that much anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. But Mitchell and Webb it's where they started. It's where they really got their name and then went off into things like Peep Show and Ludwig and all the other great things that they do. But really interested to see whether they can pull off a sketch comedy show in this day and age. And I think they get away with it. I mean, it's hit and miss with some of the sketches, but that's fine because it's a sketch comedy show. So if one sketch doesn't land that well with you, the next one might do. And it's been interesting reading people's sort of reaction to it, because some people are going, oh, I didn't like that sketch, but I really like this sketch. And I'm like, I liked the other sketch and didn't like the one that you did. I think there is something for everybody in there. The intro sketch I thought was great. It's set in Victorian England, and it's the new invention of the indoor toilet, basically, and him trying to sell the rest of the group of you in his house of like why they should use the indoor toilet rather than just going outside. And they're kind of complaining about how inconvenient it is. Yeah, so there's little things like that. And there's a great one about a guy who is the evil overlord trying to destroy the earth. And I won't go into the sort of the punchline of that, but that has a slightly more satirical bent to it. I like the sort of sketches that have that kind of rather more satirical element to it. They've also got a number of things which are done like behind the scenes. So they will cut to them sat round a table brainstorming ideas for the show, which are not genuine things. They're film sketches, and it's the group of them talking about what they could put in the show and that sort of thing. And I rather like how they've got that sort of meta thing going on of you seeing that as well, which is quite entertaining. So there are some interesting things in there. I don't think they've landed on anything which is up to the level of something which will become a catchphrase, like the original Mitchell and Webb stuff had certain things that spun out of them. But it's early days yet, and I think that as a sketch comedy show, it's perfectly solid. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It's Mitchell and Webb and a group of other great newer talents coming together to write sketch comedy. And yes, as I say, some sketches you'll like, some sketches you won't, but that's fine because that's what it's there for. And if you don't like one, there's another one coming up in a couple of minutes. I think those sort of were great. How much of Mitchell and Webb stuff do you know? Have you seen?
I really did enjoy Peep Show when it was around. I was quite happy when I think it came back briefly for an extra season as well. So I was really happy about that. That was back when I bought more DVDs and stuff. So
right, yeah.
I think I got it and ended up getting some of them for Christmas, and I was excited about that. That was really good. I've watched a few of their other things. I can't quite remember, but Peep Show is the one that really stands out to me. I love I can remember how it was done, the inner monologue thought thing in that show. I thought that was a really great addition. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Mitchell and Webb doing sketch comedy again. It's all on Channel 4, so you can go and just download the episodes right now, but it's going out weekly as well, so you can go and find that on Channel 4. Dexter Resurrection hit its finale as well this week and absolutely nailed the landing. I think they did a brilliant job with that show. It's been really good, and I think part of it is people going into it had rather lower expectations. I enjoyed New Blood. There was a prequel and there was a continuation of the main show. And I really enjoyed the last season, which was the continuation of the main show. And this is the sort of continuation of that continuation. So it's the continuation of the main timeline. The prequel series they've cancelled. It does look like they are going to make another season of Resurrection. But they actually ended this in a place where, had that been an entire finale, that would have been a solid place to finish it. That would have been perfectly fine. So I hope they don't continue this and mess that up, because there was a lot of stuff that they did in this show which were callbacks to previous seasons, and Dexter finding his kind of groove again, I guess, with the way you put it. And the storyline is just really well put together. They do leave it at a point where, although it wraps up incredibly well and you could leave it there, there are threads that they can pull on as it ends. So there are places you can potentially take it. But yeah, if they make more, great. If they don't, that's also fine. I think it's a very satisfying conclusion to where they are with that. So we'll see if they are actually going to do more. That was the rumor. So that's been good. Have you not done Dexter at all? I can't remember.
I've seen, I think, the pilot in the next episode or something. That was a long time ago, though. But yeah, just like you said, with this finale, I've heard nothing but great things. I'm really happy for the Dexter fans, though, as well, because there was a good chunk of time for a few years when it was like, oh yeah, Dexter, that was a really great show. Ended terribly. And it's like that sort of nasty bit on the end, if you call it that. And then like with it coming back with, I think it was New Blood, and then people really enjoyed that. And now they've just gone into this. It's a good, they brought it back, it seems. So
yes, New Blood was the continuation series. I think Original Sin was
I don't know why I remember that.
Series. Yes, I was trying to remember. Original Sin was the one that was cancelled. That was the prequel series. There was like a bunch of them and they opted not to continue the prequel. But the prequel series was great. But again, it did the job it needed to do in that it showed the early life of Dexter and how he got his start. And that, as a sort of self-contained thing, works. And it was really good, but obviously you could have continued that, and they decided that they didn't need to. That's gone. New Blood was fine as well, but I think Resurrection is very much Dexter back onto its like top form again. Yeah. I think it does help wash away the taste of that previous 8th season ending, which was awful. I think that's helpful. There's one game as well, which I just wanted to quickly mention, which is Anno 117, Pax Romana, which is part of the Anno series, which is a city building game, which people that listen to the show will know I love those city building games. I absolutely adore the game that they last released, which was Anno 1800. They're all set in different time periods, and 117, Pax Romana, as you probably can tell by the title, is set in ancient Rome. The basic setup for it is that you are given an island and you are told that you need to develop it, and it's 2 settings that they gave us in the demo for it, one of which is actually ancient Rome itself, and the other one is actually in the UK, basically. It's setting up a Roman village in what they refer to as Albion, but it's obviously the UK. So yeah, those are the things that they released as part of the demo. It has got a very tough hill to climb because 1800, that version of the game, there've been 3 or 4 before then as well, set in other time periods. But that 1800 version of the game is the pinnacle of the Anno series so far. I mean, it had a ton of different expansions. It's very complex in the terms of the areas that it goes. And it's one of these things where you're building houses, and to raise the population, you have to supply them with a certain amount of stuff. So you've got to build factory chains to supply certain things, and the factory chains get more and more complex. So you have to build like more things and more bits of factories, but they have a negative effect on the island because it makes it worse for the people that are living there because of smog and all that sort of stuff. The 1800 game worked brilliantly. So it's going to be interesting to see how well 117 actually works. But from the demo that they released, we only got an hour at a time. So I played through on both the ancient Rome side and on the Albion side. It feels very much like an Anno game. There's been a lot of people complaining about the UI for it because they've tweaked the UI, presumably to make it a little bit easier for console players. But it's nowhere near as bad as some of the people complaining on Reddit are making it out to be. It's basically because they've moved things around, and there are some odd choices in the UI, but it's nowhere near as bad as people are trying to say it is. I got the hang of it pretty quickly of where everything was. You are playing as this Roman governor, you're building this city, upgrading these houses, and there is a storyline which will run through it, but we haven't really seen an awful lot of that. November 13th, it's out. Not long to wait until the final thing is released, but yeah, really enjoyed my time on the demo, and if anything, it wasn't quite long enough, because Anno is one of those games where you can start playing and then suddenly it's 2 a.m. It's one of those sort of things that sucks your time away. So a timed hour on it isn't really a lot to be able to get a huge amount out of it, but I did enjoy it, and it is worth, I think, picking up and certainly looking at. We'll see what it's like when the full reviews come out. But have you spent any time with the Anno series?
I don't think I've heard of it until you mentioned it. Maybe.
Okay. Ubisoft,
no.
it is yeah.
Oh.
It is an Ubisoft game, but yeah, they are a huge city builder series, and there has been, I don't know when the first one came out, but 1998 it's been around since. Yeah, they've done ones that are set in the future. They've done obviously the 1800 one, which was the biggest one that they've released so far, and that is available on consoles as well. The earlier ones I don't think are, they were PC only, but they've done one set in the future, a bunch of them set in the past at different sort of time periods. But yeah, so this is the farthest back in the past that I've gone. It's a big hill to climb, because Anno 1800, even though it came out in 2019, still stands up incredibly well. And there's so much content in that game. You would be playing it for hours and hours. Yeah, we'll see when 117 releases on the 13th of November. So that's all the stuff we've been doing this week. Let's move on to some TV and film news. So we kick off the TV and film news with the renewals, cancellations and pickups. There are a couple of cancellations, one of which being the animated series Tomb Raider Legend of Lara Croft. That's ending after 2 seasons on Netflix. Second season is coming on the 11th of December. There is a reason for that, which we'll come to in a bit. But did you watch any of that? I don't know whether you caught it. It was Hayley Atwell doing the voice, I think, for that one.
Yeah, I just never quite felt the appetite to watch it. I do like Tomb Raider, also like a big classic like PlayStation series and all that. But I don't know, and it didn't seem to make like a massive splash. And I felt like it should have, because people like Hayley Atwell and people like Tomb Raider, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't land.
Yeah. I think people that have watched it have said that it was a really good adaptation. It was an animated thing. But yeah, they're doing one more season of that, which comes on the 11th of December, and that'll be that for that. But there is more Tomb Raider in the works, which we'll come to in a bit. Sharon Hogan's acclaimed comedy Bad Sisters has reportedly been axed after 2 seasons at Apple. Say being axed, it sounds like the way they ended it came to something of a natural conclusion. So it's probably more accurate to say they've just decided not to order a 3rd season of it. Plus, it looks like Sharon's actually signed a deal with HBO as well. So there is more stuff coming from her. It's just not going to be Apple for whatever reason. The show itself did incredibly well. It won a BAFTA for Best Drama Series. It had a Peabody Award, TV Critics Award, multiple Emmy nominations. So, nothing against the quality of the show. I think it could just be one of those ones that they got it to a point where they were happy with where they were and were like, okay, we're not going to do any more.
Yeah, I think that was a show that Gray had mentioned and
yes,
really enjoyed before. It's one that I like. I think I read the description and watched the trailer and it was curious, but just never hit play for some reason. But I was curious about the idea and what it was. If it's got a good conclusion and stuff, I'll still go and watch it.
Yes, I mean, from the reports I read, because I haven't seen it, I did say that season 2 was something of a natural conclusion to it. So fair enough. The renewals, the paper was renewed for season 2 ahead of its launch, which I think it launched last night. We're recording this on Monday. Peacock in the US and Sky Max in the UK. You can watch that. I did watch a little bit of the start of that, and it's just very Office-like, as you would expect. It's from the same team that did the US version of The Office. It's very much the same vibe to it, but obviously a different cast of characters. I was never massively into the US version of The Office. I did watch the UK version, but I never picked up the US version. But yeah, I mean, if you like the US version of The Office, you're probably going to like the paper, I would think. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to start that at some point. I'm curious about that. Looking forward to that. And the trailer looked pretty good, so I'm curious to check that out as well. And see, I think Oscar, one of the characters for the Office show, he was in that. So I'm curious to see what's going on with his character as well.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because it opens with titles of a documentary team 20 years ago followed this paper company, and we've returned to find out what happened to them when they turn up, and the company's basically being closed for a number of years, and they end up talking to other people in the building is where it starts. So there's that, and you can watch all 10 episodes of that are actually out now on Sky On Demand and now in the UK, so you can check that out. And it will be back for a second season. Sonora Volp, which was, I think went out on UK TV here, but it's an Acorn TV show being renewed for a third season, so that's coming back. And SAS Rogue Heroes has been renewed for a third season by the BBC, and that airs on MGM Plus, I think, in the US and other places, I think, internationally, which is great. That's Stephen Knight's SAS series, which has been brilliant, really good and well written, that show. So I'm glad that's coming back. On to some other premiere dates we've got and pickups and stuff. All episodes of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 1 are going to be landing on ITVX for those of you that don't have a Paramount Plus subscription. 19th of October, which is a Sunday, they're going to be coming to ITVX. So it's another one of these deals that ITVX have done one with Disney Plus, and they've taken some Apple shows and stuff as well. A lot of the smaller streamers seem to have hit on this idea of selling some of their older content onto linear TV and other streaming services. And so with this, sell the first season, and hopefully if people like it and they want to suddenly watch the second season, they might go and get a Paramount Plus subscription. And they've done some same sort of thing with some Apple stuff to BBC and to ITV as well, I think. So, and Disney have got this ongoing rotating deal with ITVX of them switching content. So some of the ITVX content appears on Disney Plus and some of the Disney Plus content appears on ITVX, and they're rotating it out every sort of month or so and putting different shows on so people can start watching, and then if they like it, they might go and get a Disney Plus subscription. So I think that's quite a nice way of doing it, and it gives more content to ITVX. So that's great. I've said to the guys at ITVX, whoever's doing the box set ordering and these sort of deals for them really deserves a pay rise, because they're doing a phenomenal job with that stuff. They've got all the CW superhero shows. They've picked up things like Snowpiercer. They've picked up a number of things that were dropped after a couple of seasons and they've picked them up so they can air the second and third seasons or whatever. So they've done a really interesting job with picking up just extra content for that service. So it's been great, I think. It's really good. So yeah, Strange New Worlds Season 1, Sunday, the 19th of October for that, if you've not got Paramount Plus and haven't watched it already. Welcome to Derry, that has not got an exact premiere date, but it is coming in October, we have been told. Well, this is, of course, the prequel to the It movies and novel set in 1962 when a couple move their son to Derry, Maine, just as the boy disappears. With their arrival, very bad things begin to happen in the town. It does have Bill Skarsgård back as Pennywise the Clown from the more recent versions of the It movies. So there is some sort of crossover there. It is directly attached to that. I never watched the It films. I saw the original with Tim Curry, but I've never watched the sort of newer ones. I don't know whether you've any interest in this.
Seeing both of the two newer ones, I like the first one a lot more than the second one. The second one I remember having a lot of issues and stuff. If I hear that this is really good, I'll check it out, but I don't have an appetite for it right now. It's HBO and Pennywise is cool and interesting and all that, but something about that second film killed my appetite for it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, well, let's see how that goes.
No exact date for that yet, but it is coming in October. Also coming to Sky in October is Nevermind the Buzzcocks returns for its 5th season, which I adore this show. That I didn't know whether they were going to be able to pull it off when it came back on Sky after the run on the BBC, because it was so like visceral on the BBC. They tore people to shreds on that original run. And I think it is gentler, but Greg Davies is exactly the right person to be leading it. And it's really fun and really funny. Noel Fielding back as one of the team captains, which I think is the first thing he's done since he walked off that Dick Turpin show on Apple TV. I think this is the first kind of TV thing he's been on, unless I'm not sure where else, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you might be all right. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see whether that comes up at all. And Sophie Willan is coming back as the other regular team captain, replacing Daisy May Cooper, who was there but is now off filming various things, I think. So Sophie Willan is stepped into those shoes. She did it last season as well. And Jamali Maddox is also back as the regular panelist. They've got the special themed episodes coming back. So there's an 80s episode, which is going to have Pepsi and Shirley on it. There's a 90s pop episode, which is going to have Melanie Blatt in it. And there is a battle between Britpop and Manchester, which is going to have Bez on it. So I think those are some great sort of guest captains I think they're having on. Other guests, they've said Matt Goss, Pink Panthers, Boyzone, Jamie Demetrio, Tom Grennan, Jessie J, Sam Ryder, Tiny Temper, Debbie Gibson, and every member of Five acting as a single entity. I think this sounds great. Don't know exactly when that's coming back, when it's coming back in October. I really love that show. It's fantastic. And the other bit of news was Ludwig is recording its 2nd season. That was, we mentioned earlier, David Mitchell back on that show with Anna Maxwell Martin, and they've begun filming season 2. Season 1 was out in September 2024. So obviously it's going to be probably 18 months before we get that back. So some point in the middle of next year, I suspect that will probably land on TV, but it might be earlier. We don't know. But they are filming season 2 now, which is great news because the first season of that was just fabulous. On to some pickups and other news. We've got some more casting for the Scrubs revival, which we have mentioned before. So they're reviving Scrubs. It's got the original cast back of Zach Braff, Sarah Chalke, and Donald Faison. They've now announced that Judy Reyes is returning as Carla as well, although she'll be in a recurring guest role because she's also on High Potential, which season 2 of that starts on the 17th of September. But she plays the captain of the unit that is involved in that show. She's doing double duty, so she's not going to be there all the time, but she is in a recurring guest role, so she will at least be there a bit. They've also announced John C. McGinley is returning as Dr. Perry Cox, which is awesome because he was fantastic on that show. Do you ever watch any of Scrubs? I don't know. It's all on Disney Plus, I think, now.
Yeah, it is. Yes, I've scrolled past it a couple of times. I've never actually started it, but I'm obviously very aware of it. So curious to see how this goes. Yeah.
Yeah, all good. Don't watch the very final season because they tried to retool it because Zach Braff left and it didn't work. But if you stop before that very final season, it's a good ending to the whole run. Yeah, you can go and watch it from there. But yeah, this is basically JD and Turk scrubbed back in together for the first time in a long time. Medicine has changed, interns have changed, but their bromance has stood the test of time. Characters new and old navigate the waters of Sacred Harp with laughter, heart, and some surprises along the way. So that's the description of it. But we don't know exactly when that's going to land, but it will be on Disney Plus in the UK. That you'll be able to find it. There's a bit of casting for Russell T Davies's new Channel 4 drama, which is called Tiptoe, and they've announced the 2 leads for that are going to be Alan Cumming and David Morrissey. Cumming takes the role of Leo, the vivid and witty owner of Spit and Polish, a bar in Manchester's Day Village. Morrissey plays his troubled next-door neighbour Clive, a man whose unsmiling exterior hides deeper turmoil. So it's set in Manchester. The story follows Leo and Clive, neighbours for nearly 15 years, whose lives take a dark turn as tensions in the world seep into their own back gardens. Words become weapons, opinions grow radicalised, and what begins as neighbourly clash escalates into a deadly enmity. Blending Davis's trademark humour with biting social commentary, Tiptoe shines a light on prejudices that are once again creeping into everyday life. I mean, I think there's a lot of anticipation for this because the last thing Davis did for Channel 4 was It's a Sin, which was probably one of the best TV things ever made for TV, I would think. So, yeah, I don't know whether it's ever going to hit that high because I think they just hit every marker that show. But I think this looks like it's going to be interesting. Don't know exactly when that's going to land. Probably next year sometime. But interest in this, I would guess.
Oh yeah, certainly. It's a Sim was phenomenal and only getting better as it went on. Had an amazing finale, and of course I've enjoyed Russell's work back on Doctor Who with the new the newer seasons. So those have been great. He's also a nice person as well, which is also really helpful.
Yeah.
So that's good. But you got David Morrissey, obviously was the governor in The Walking Dead. Seen him in a couple of other things as well. So I like him. Did meet him as well, yes, 6 years ago. Is very tall. But
he is. I've met him as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was great as well. So yeah, looks like this should be another really good one.
Yeah, 2 great leads in it, and I can see them bouncing off each other quite well. I think it's going to be one that he's probably talked about, I would think, quite a lot, that one, but that's Tiptoe. Back onto Tomb Raider, this is, I think, part of the reason why the animated thing probably got cancelled is because there is a new live-action series coming from Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and they found the person playing Lara Croft. It raised a few eyebrows because it's Sophie Turner. Her off Game of Thrones is probably what she's best known for, although she has done a number of other things. So, yeah, she's stepping into the role played by Angelina Jolie, Alicia Vikander most recently, and Hayley Atwell, of course, voicing the animated Lara in the Tomb Raider animated series. I like Sophie, and I don't necessarily exactly see her in this role, but I think this could work. And the thing that I think it probably has going for it is Tomb Raider is one of those people where the character is bigger than the actor, if that makes sense. So I would guess that it's not like they're going for Sophie Turner as a name, particularly. I'm assuming that she auditioned for it and did a good job in the audition, and that's why they cast her in it. Because they're not doing it like with the movie, they picked Angelina Jolie because she was at the very much the appropriate person to do it at the time, they thought, and she was a huge name. And I think with this, at this point, you can pretty much put anybody in that role that is appropriate for it. And so I'm assuming that she did something good in the audition which led to the role, if that makes sense. But showrunner is Phoebe Waller-Bridge alongside Chad Hodge, who worked on Wayward Pines and Good Behavior. Jonathan Van Tullochen, who worked on Shogun and Dope Thief, is directing it. So solid team behind it as well. I like Phoebe's writing, and I think I could see that working with Tomb Raider. So, yeah, it's an interesting sort of group of people behind it, I think, for this.
Yeah, there's a very interesting kind of setup and stuff here. I did really love Fleabag, which, of course, Phoebe Waller-Bridge starred in it and wrote it and all that sort of thing. Didn't she do was it the first season of Killing Eve? I think they changed showrunners every seasonal.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and the quality was noticeably worse after she left. Yeah.
Yeah, but she did the excellent first season as well, so that's really good. Just on Sophie herself, it'll be interesting with this because when you look at someone like, was it Sansa? Yeah, Sansa Stark. And she wasn't one of the more like action heavy characters in the show. She was one of the more sort of dialogue driven characters, which she was excellent at. And this will be an interesting one because I don't, at least from the Tomb Raider content I've consumed, which is not all of it, but most of it. Like I've played the original games, I've played like the reboot stuff in 2013. There's a new bunch on the way from Embracer Group. Like yeah, they got sold to Embracer Group. Because Tomb Raider to me is, I'm not going to say she's opposite of what Sophie can offer you, but I think this will give Sophie a chance to stretch her like action traits in this rather than the dialogue ones, because from every single Tomb Raider thing I've consumed, I've never known Lara Croft to be like a dialogue-heavy character, more of just an action character. So it'd be interesting to see, depending on the writing, because again, you've got Phoebe Waller-Bridge here, which I think will hopefully, like I would like to see Lara get more interesting dialogue and character development and things like that. And I think Phoebe can offer you that. But where you might get the win with that combination of Sophie is if Lara is more of a dialogue heavy sort of person, Sophie will be able to deliver that in spades. But it'll be interesting to see her going from that, like a role like Sansa, to a much more action heavy sort of character. I don't have any reason to think she can't do that, and it's an interesting name to attach to it. It would just be interesting to see what Sophie can bring to this, what Lara Croft is as a character, and then what Phoebe can do with this as well as a writer. So I'm very curious about it. I'll definitely be watching this. Yeah, be interesting.
Yeah, I think it will be a very interesting one. I know there was a few people going, oh, what a horrible choice. But as I say, my gut feeling is there's no reason to cast Sophie Turner in there unless she did a good job in the audition for it. It's not like they're casting her as a name. It's not stunt casting in any way. And she isn't the obvious choice for it. So I'm intrigued to see with that where they go with it.
Yeah. I agree in a way with the whole naming thing, because I don't think this is a project or a character where you need a big actor's name to draw people in. I don't think it would be one where if there was 3 people that did a better audition but were lesser known, that they would like, oh yeah, we need a really big name to bring in. I don't think you needed to do that here necessarily. So
yeah, exactly. That isn't the only game adaptation that they're doing actually over at Amazon. There is another one which I thought was quite interesting. It's a live action version of a game called Life is Strange, which have you ever played that?
I did, and I played the Life is Strange 2 as well.
Yeah, I've not actually played the second one, but yeah.
I think that was the brothers. They started to come out with quite a lot of that. There was Life is Strange 2 Colors, and that one I didn't quite get into. And then there was
a direct sequel as well. With the same two characters.
There started to be like a few different names, to be honest, a little bit. Yeah, the original Life is Strange with Chloe and Max, I really liked that a lot. The sequel was really great as well with, I think one of the brothers' names was Dan or something. That was pretty good as well. I had a kind of a weird reaction to this, because if you asked me to name like 5 video game properties I would adapt it, I could quite easily do that. And I get that, like, as soon as I saw this headline, I was like, okay, that makes sense that you would do this as a live action adaptation. For some reason, it's not that I'm not interested in it, but I'm not excited for that. And I don't quite know why yet. Maybe it's because it has been like a good number of years since I played the first Life is Strange, but you could still have faith you could do something really good with it, but I'll have to see.
Yeah. For those of you that aren't gamers and aren't familiar with the original game, it does follow a character called Max, who is a photography student who discovers she can rewind time after saving the life of her childhood best friend, Chloe. As Max struggles to come to terms with their new power, the duo begin investigating the mysterious disappearance of a fellow student. What starts as a search for the truth soon exposes a much darker side to their town, forcing Max and Chloe into choices that will alter their lives forever. So that's the sort of setup for the story. The game was quite cinematic in the way it was done. And I can see, like you, why they would go for a game like this. What really had me interested in this is the fact that Charlie Koval is the person that is going to be doing it. Now, he's the guy that was behind End of the Effing World and the brilliant Chaos, which was on Netflix, and they inexplicably cancelled it after 1 season. But yeah, he is the person behind that. And I think Chaos was just incredible. I know there's a lot of love for End of the Effing World out there. So I think he's a really interesting person to actually take a project like this and could really do it justice. With his name attached to it, that kind of picked my ears up a little bit, because as I say, I looked at it and thought, yeah, okay, I can see them doing that. And then I saw his name was the person that is attached as creator and exec producer and showrunner on it, and like, okay, yeah, that I really see. Yes, I think that's quite interesting. There'll be interesting to see who they actually cast as the 2 leads, and maybe they go for unknowns for this. But yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it will be a case of once we maybe get some casting news and then get a trailer, once it feels a bit more real rather than just like a title, then I'll maybe get a bit more excited as well. Yeah, but the gameplay mechanic, because it is a bit similar to like a Telltale kind of game. It's in that like formula of choices and stuff, and not the same like point and click adventure. It was more open than that, but it was okay. If you got a character killed by accident, or you did like something by accident, you could press a button and like rewind time. And then the second game had, I think it was the younger brother had like telekinesis, and then he was being guided by his older brother, that kind of thing. So very good game, but it's just been years since I played it.
Yeah. So yes, don't know when that's going to land, but it will come to Prime Video, that one as well. That's Life is Strange.
They're doing a good few video game things, aren't they? They've got, like Fallout already. I know they're doing God of War. Is it the Horizon they're doing, or is it something else?
Mass Effect they're doing, I think, aren't they, over there? I don't think I'm not sure whether that's been actually officially greenlit yet, but they are certainly working it. So they're doing a number of game adaptations over there, and that's fine. It's a great place to pull from. There are some really good video games you can adapt. I think that works. And there is one more story, which I know you will definitely want to talk about. Oh, we haven't got time. But no, of course we're going to talk about this one. There was a news report out this week that said Jack Bauer's clock might start ticking again as Kiefer Sutherland confirms that something has been written for 24. As when this news first dropped, it's every time this comes out, I wrote in the article that like I instinctively reach for the Hawkeye, don't do this to me, don't give me hope, because this has come up so many times, but this is the first time it's actually come directly from Kiefer himself. He was talking on an interview on Montreal Now, and he said that Howard Gordon, who is the showrunner and exec producer, had come up with an idea that I like before the material had not been written. So I would have to say I'm not the one that's standing in the way, but something has been written and I think it's really good and I think it's really strong. So he's very keen on it. He's very keen on doing it, which is awesome news because it's been a bit willy-wonky up until then. Of course, 24 as a thing has changed hands because he then continues on to talk about the fact that he was originally with Fox and it's now with Disney because of all the Fox stuff that got sold off, and it was part of that package with The Simpsons and all that sort of stuff. So the ownership of 24 now is with Disney. So it's got to go through different channels to the ones that they'd used before, because if this was still with Fox, I'm absolutely sure they would have been like, let's just make it. But it's now over at Disney and it's got to go through the channels to approve it there. Although to me, this feels like, why wouldn't you? You've got Howard Gordon wants to do it. Kiefer wants to do it. The fans want it. Whether it's a series or a movie, whatever it is, they want something just as Kiefer does. As he goes on to say, I left it wide open and I would like to close that story. And so I think whatever it is, it will be the final thing for Jack Bauer. But that's fine. It's just the last time we saw him, he was basically getting bundled into the back of a car or a van, sent off to sit in a Russian gulag, basically. And we were like, you can't leave it there. We were like praying for them to do something just to get Jack back and give him an actual kind of ending. Martin, who is somebody that posts regularly on the website in our comment section and was on social media, just did actually say that there was apparently rumors of a film that was in development at 20th Century Studios, which is Disney owned at this point, last year. So I do wonder whether it's going to be a 24 movie, maybe released directly onto Disney Plus, but it will be a movie possibly rather than a full series. But that's fine. They've done movie things with it before. So as long as it works, I don't really care. I'm sure you're well up for this.
Yeah, I still love this show very much. It's still my favorite TV show, has been ever since it was. This does sound more promising and more like there's actually something there, because the one thing I started doing, because this has happened, 4, 5, 6 times it feels like over the 11 years that we've at least not seen Jack for. I mean, I know they had the Not Live Another Day, the other 24 show with the other guy that we covered as well, which was great to have that back and that was cool. But I'd love to have this back, obviously, and just go for, I know it wouldn't be another 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons. It would be just one more story to get him out of there and just wrap this up. I still love Jack Bauer as a character. I still just think he's really cool and just would love to see him again. But I got myself to a point where every time we heard like a little nugget of information about, oh, this might be happening, to stop getting my hopes up, because then you just go end up disappointed. But I know there was the whole Disney Fox thing, and that's obviously caused some shift in a lot of stuff. And there was probably rights of things moving all over the place, as they do. The one thing that never quite made sense to me is it was even obvious once that final scene ended as to where exactly you could go. It was right there in everybody's face. I think it was really obvious. And I remember there was a little bit of a period of time where they said, we're not sure about bringing it back because we're not sure what would be good or what to do. And I guess you could take that as, while the idea is right there and obvious in your face, you have to make the idea itself great. But you are talking, I think it was 2014. So you are talking like 11 years of discussions of bringing this back. I know Keith has gone on and he's done music and stuff, and he was in Designated Survivor, and there was another 24 show in that time. And then there was also that talk of all the, none of them ended up happening, but all the 24 spin-offs, like the courtroom drama or whatever it was. And then there was a sort of a rumor of the young Jack Bauer show, which couldn't have been Keith, it would have been somebody else. So while it does seem like they've been trying and like throwing around different ideas, I'd rather have that than just no news at all, because then it would feel even more dead than what it started to. to, but it got to a point for me personally where while I won't forget about 24 because I still love it and still have merch of it and all these sorts of things, of just settling with the idea that, okay, this thing might not come back, especially when like years and years go past. But the bit about something has been written and like Kiefer's on board, Howard's on board, that feels more significant. But I hope that we don't have another 3 years that goes by now without hearing anything. So it sounds a bit more promising. I would just, I don't know. It's
temper expectations. Yeah, I know what you mean. I just like, because we have heard this so many times. And yeah, you're right. Since we've seen Jack, it was 2014 with Live Another Day. And then 2017, we had 24 Legacy with Corey Hawkins.
That was it, yeah.
But yeah, and I think we both quite liked 24 Legacy, but it does have that thing of, yeah, this is fine, but Jack's still stuck in a gulag somewhere to get him out.
Yeah, I never minded the idea of other 24 shows. I was interested in pretty much all of them, and I did like Legacy. It was just that sticking point of, this is great, but Jack's still out there. I wonder if, let's say they'd wrapped up 24 with Jack's story before that came out, and it would be, okay, at least that's now settled and finished, and then you can do other things. Because I do wonder, like, outside of Jack, how much appetite there would be for other 24 stories. I have the appetite for that. I would love to see that because I love the genre it's in as well, and the whole time aspect is really cool, and even just the iconic nature of the clock and everything else like that. There's just that DNA and stuff. But I think it's just been sitting there of, okay, I don't even think you need a full or even a half season. I think, okay, a film with a couple of hours and you'd have the idea, because you had, what was Carlos Bernard's character's name? Tony.
Tony.
He had that. Do you remember that scene? I think it was on like a DVD extra, like a post-credit scene of him in some prison somewhere. Because I remember he did get out because he was in 24 Legacy, but I think that specific, because he got given these glasses or something, didn't he? And it was like schematics for a prison thing or something. And while that didn't quite continue, I think Tony did come back or something. Yeah. But there's a number, like you had Chloe hanging around and stuff, and like Jack's other friends. So I think it would just be almost the obvious idea of, okay, all those people come together and team up to get Jack out, and then probably kill some Russian people that are keeping him captive and get him out. But it's just a shame that this, while the Fox purchase was a great idea and all that, it just felt like it's held this back from happening somewhat. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see whether this actually does to come to fruition. But this is probably the most positive story we've had about it. And there is still an appetite for, I think, for 24, judging by the reaction that we got when we posted this. And the real-time thing is on it a bit of a comeback as well, because The Pit, which is the big US medical drama, which is not ER, but that is one of the things that has is a real-time format. And that seems to go down incredibly well. So that is almost his medical version of 24, which is one of the sort of things that they'd pitched as an idea of, they talked about 24 hours to get somebody off death row as being like, and setting it as a legal drama. They talked, that was one of the ideas that I came up with as a 24 style show, but not set in CTU. But yeah, I think the thing that has always hung over it is the fact that Jack is still stuck in this Russian prison somewhere, and we want to see the end of that story and that character back on US soil and just out again. And we want that story finished. And it never has been. Say, I don't hold my breath, but the fact that this has come direct from Kiefer and the fact that something has been written, and it feels like it's something that Disney should be prepared to move forward with. But we will see what happens with that. Mm-hmm. So that's all the news we've got for this week. Just some highlights for next week coming up. So, highlights for next week. We have The Girlfriend, which is a new series coming to Prime Video. Season 1 of that on the 10th of September. This is Robin Wright, stars in an adaptation of Michelle Francis's novel of the same name. So you've got that coming. Greg Davis, who we were talking about earlier, is back with Taskmaster, season 20. That's the 11th of September at 9 p.m. The Newsreader returns for its third and final season. That is the Australian drama set in a heart of a busy commercial TV newsroom in the 80s. That's BBC Two, 11th of September at 9 p.m. for the Newsreader. Cold Water, which is a new ITV thriller that stars Andrew Lincoln from The Walking Dead. That looks quite interesting, coming to ITV on the 14th of September at 9 p.m. Futurama returns for season 13. That's on Disney Plus on the 15th of September. We've also got Heartland returning for its 18th season. That's on Netflix on the 15th of September as well. And Wildcards returns for its second season. That's on Paramount Plus on the 15th of September. So lots of stuff on the 15th of September. But yeah, some good stuff next week. I will probably go over onto ITV and check out Cold Water, I think. I haven't watched any of the Newsreader, but I do want to get into Wildcards because I've heard good things about that. So yes, some good stuff around.
Yeah, certainly.
So that's all the stuff coming up next week. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
You can head over to entertainmenttalk.org or the podcast platforms of the same name for TV, games, films, Main Night podcast. Done a couple of political talk episodes recently. Did one yesterday called The Curious Case of Lucy Connolly, because there was some very strange behavior going on over there, and I went to focus on that as a topic. Also did another one talking about the whole hotels situation, and obviously that's a big topic in the country at the moment, so I gave my thoughts on that. I finally got around to seeing Weapons yesterday. That was brilliant. Really enjoyed that. That was a really good film to go and see. Of course, there's gaming talk. We've had a lot of stuff going on recently. Had a new Lego Batman game announced. We had a Call of Duty film got announced as well from Paramount and Activision, so that was really good, as well as many other things. What else have we done recently? Of course, there's the United cast as well, where things just keep happening, I suppose. We have an international break at the moment, 3 games into the season, and this weekend when we come back to face Man City away, of course, got knocked out by Grimsby Town in the... Yes. We got knocked out of a cup competition before the transfer window closed, which I forgot that could be a thing. But yeah, that's all happening over there. I did do a big kind of transfer talk wrap up and all that sort of thing, talking about that. So you can check that out as well if you want to. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but you can head over to the site and the podcast platforms to find those. Should be back with Breaking Bad this Wednesday as well for our rewatch podcast. I think has it been 2 years since we've done that?
It's been a while, yeah.
So yeah, I did put out like the refreshed season 3 episodes, which a lot of people listened to, which was great. We're back with that for season 4 on Wednesday, and then anything else we do in between now and then. You can find me as well on social media, either eTalkUK or Entertainment Talk. I'm on pretty much all the platforms. So that is me.
Cool. So go and check Matt out over at entertainmenttalk.org or over on social media. For other people involved in the show, Dominguez, you can go and find out HollywoodNewsSource.com for all these TV, film articles and interviews and stuff over there. Daryl, you can find over at HollywoodNorthNews.net for all the TV series you love, which are shot in Canada. For us, you can visit the website at geektown.co.uk throughout the week and see all the latest air date information. If you want to get in touch with your questions or comments, email us on podcast@geektown.co.uk. Leave a message on the website post. Find us at Geektown on Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/Geektown, YouTube at youtube.com/Geektown, Blue Sky at Geektown, Instagram at Geektown UK, TikTok at Geektown UK, and Threads at Geektown UK. That is everything. We shall see you next week. Goodbye.